I recently played a game I held very dear to me from my childhood, that game being Sly Cooper the Thievius Raccoonus. I was obsessed with this game, and to this day I consider the whole trilogy and even the weird fourth game as classics. Weirdly enough, though, Sly Cooper isn't talked about much. Of course, there are some video essays here and there, maybe a slight mention from a big streamer, but it is more of a niche title compared to its many opponents in the early 2000s. I personally love Sly for how charming and witty the game is. It nails the vibe of being a thief in a video game to me perfectly. It also just has a lovable cast of characters. Not only that, but the worlds you find yourself going through are unique and a sight to behold as well. So that is exactly what I'm going to talk about today. Which world in Sly Cooper is the best one? And I'm going to go based off of these two criterias, how much I enjoyed the levels and how much I enjoyed the setting, because other than those, there's really not that much to these worlds. So without further ado, let's get it done.
Thing I'm missing.
From a spectacle standpoint, I really do love this place, especially the level before Clockwork's fight. There's nothing more exhilarating than climbing the crumbling death ray, avoiding the lava below you, and the Clockwork its fight is cinematic and frankly the best one in the game, although that isn't really saying much. I love the idea of ripping and tearing through a volcanic layer. It is just a shame that the levels aren't that outstanding. I finished this world in maybe 15 minutes or less. The first level is an on-rails shooter, which is a little bit challenging, but the second one requires you to run over computers to open a door. The third level requires you to save Carmelita by doing some stealth in a barrel similar to what you had to do in the first world, and after that you get this weird one-off Bentley section where you play a little version of him to hack into this gas chamber trapping Sly and Carmelita. I think this is really cool. I actually would have liked to see this minigame at some other points in the game, but I don't really care that much that they only used it once. There's also this neat gimmick stage where you kind of play as Carmelita. It's just a reskin of those gimmick Murray stages, but instead you're protecting Sly, and after that you have the best stage, aforementioned, requiring you to climb Clockwork's Death Ray. This is easily the best one because it is the most traditional stage in the whole world. You have to utilize every platforming ability learned and outrun the lava all at the same time. While I didn't find it particularly challenging, I can see why some people might struggle with it. This world as a whole isn't bad by any means. I just think it is the worst, for lack of a better term, because it is entirely made up of short minigame stages. While the minigames in Sly Cooper aren't horrible, they have nothing on the traditional platforming stages. If this world consisted of more platforming like some of the other worlds, I could see it being one of the best. I think it just misses the mark. I would have appreciated much more traditional stages, as I just mentioned. However, the Clockwork boss fight is really good, and the ending where Sly kisses Carmelita is also awesome. Great ending. I find this one particularly interesting as even when I was a kid, this one has always been on the bottom of my list. Replaying it now, I don't think it is nearly as bad as I perceived it to be, but it's still lacking to me. Maybe I'm just not a huge fan of the whole voodoo swamp aesthetic, and as a whole, I just don't really like Miss Ruby. I always found her to be the weakest member of the Fiendish Five, and she easily has the worst boss fight in the game, literally just being a game of Simon Says. As for the levels themselves, I think the traditional ones are actually pretty good. Lair of the Beast and Descent into Danger are a couple of my favorites in particular. I love the obligatory chase sequence and platformers, something about them scratch an itch in my brain, and this one is particularly cool since the giant snake that is chasing you actually opens up part of the level, which I think is pretty neat. Descent into Danger has a stealthier approach compared to other levels. I also like the verticality of this level. I enjoy how it basically has you loop around the whole level, which is a formula that quite a few levels in this game use actually. The gimmick of destroying candles to reveal a path is interesting as well, something basically all the levels in this world do. The main thing that is holding this world back is once again the mini-games. I want to reiterate, I don't think the mini-games in this game are bad, except for the two in this world, honestly. The whacking chickens minigame is so strange that I can't help but love the concept. However, I dislike the actual level. You have to eliminate 40 chickens within the time limit, one-shot bomber chickens pursue you, and it isn't particularly difficult, just mildly tedious. There's another one where you have to run over these piranhas and spit fire from a bike to light all of these torches within a time limit. Once again, not bad, it's just a little tedious and sometimes the timing can be tight. But the last one, which is objectively the best one in my opinion, is a shooter level where you control a bike and have to eliminate all the ghosts. I noticed all traditional levels had a greater sense of vertical structure, meaning you have to climb up to get to your goal, which I consider a nice change of the pace from the previous worlds. Again, this place isn't bad, just compared to the others, I didn't really find it nearly as pleasing. I will say I did enjoy the gimmicks offered in these levels more, like the one level where you have to kind of scale a tree almost, and you have to destroy these statues where these ghosts are spawning. I do think the traditional levels are really cool, honestly, some of my favorites. However, I just enjoy the other worlds more. So let's move on to number 3. This is one that surprised me quite a bit as well. I vividly remember the Panda King episode being my favorite as a kid. I would always go back to replay every level, even the mini-games, and fight the Panda King over and over. Now that I have grown quite a bit, I can recognize this world is still great, just not the best. Aesthetically, it is my favorite in the game. I am in absolute awe of the snowy mountains here. I do believe this is the most beautiful location in Sly Cooper. There's just something about it that perfectly encapsulates the vibe this game is going for. I suppose it's the cold snowfall, it just has this thief Sly-like aura. And just in general, it's kind of comforting, and it's a nice change of pace compared to other level settings. As for the levels themselves, there isn't really a single one I dislike here. Even the minigame stages are pretty fun. You get a hefty dose of Murray this episode for some reason. There are 2 missions with him instead of 1, so that counts for something for all the 3 Murray fans out there. You learn the ability to become invisible to the enemy's line of sight, and the levels do a good job of utilizing that, allowing you to take conveyor belts past enemy lines and phase through death lasers. I adore the spectacle of scaling this mountain in the first level. Seeing the Panda King decimate an entire village really sets the mood here. I genuinely cannot believe that this guy probably wiped out multiple families and has done so before. My personal favorite level would have to be Duel by the Dragon. These Carmelita Fox chasing you levels are always so fun. I honestly wish there were more in the game. Out of the 2 that are in the game, this one is hands down the best. You have to do a series of platforming challenges, light fireworks to open up a path for you, and use Carmelita's ray gun against her to open up opportunities on the stage. It's just super cinematic having the dragon head collapse while she is swearing she'll catch you too. I just love the Sly and Carmelita romantic banter between one another throughout the franchise. It's just so well done. You have the returning turret minigame, Murray turret minigame, and Murray racing game, which aren't that bad, but I still don't really see them as necessary. The only other level in this world is aptly named Flaming Temple of Flame, a great platforming challenge and an interesting stage as you see the spectacle of monkeys training with nunchucks. As for Panda King, his fight, like every other one, is just okay. It's the closest thing to a more traditional boss fight that Sly Cooper has, and while it is easy and quick, I do like it. At number 2, we have the one that started it all, Sir Raleigh the Frog's Land. What's cooler than plunging through a pirate's land in an eternal storm generated by a machine boat in the sky? Message me when you find the answer. I honestly couldn't think of a better introduction to Sly Cooper. The world is dark, grim, grimy, everything you'd expect a thief to sift through. The detail of the overworld constantly raining, the ruined ships around the sea, the fact you yourself are trudging through a ship to get to Raleigh is phenomenal. These levels are no short of amazing and filled with personality. This also happens to be the world with the least amount of minigame stages, containing only one at the very end. I don't really understand why they didn't follow this formula. Maybe they just didn't have the budget, the resources, or the time to create this many fully fledged stages for each world, but that isn't to say the minigame stages inherently ruin everything. I seriously don't know where to start because I thoroughly enjoy all of the levels presented here. There's one where you have to sneak through a library using a barrel, and even as a kid this was one of my favorite levels from a design standpoint. Something about this library, despite having instant death turrets, is oddly relaxing. In general, I love the vibe of large libraries. They make me feel a childlike sense of wonder and intrigue. Multiple levels have you go through the inner workings of the ship, through flaming hot vents and coals, electric fans trying to kill you, the works. It's hard for me to pick a favorite because if I need to, I would have to pick the gunboat graveyard. Seeing all these boats and planes ruined in the water just makes me speculate how many lives Raleigh has taken. It's also super cool walking on the ruined debris to get to the end of the stage. There's also this super neat skip at the beginning of the stage, allowing you to skip practically the whole level. This is required for the Master Thief sprint, and it made me feel like a genius when I thought of it myself. Platforming through all these levels feels so clean, something that Sly Cooper does seamlessly, even with the worst levels. Of course, the boss fight at the end is okay, just a simple run, dodge, and hit when it is appropriate, but not bad. I genuinely have no complaints for this level, but as you noticed, there is one spot left. I would talk about this one more, but I really have nothing negative to say about it, so let's just move on. Mugshot's Turf is the best to me. Every level here is perfect. Yeah, it has a few minigame stages, but the quality of the traditional levels more than make up for it. I adore the western urban style this world has. I live in a very rural area, so I'm very intrigued by city life as it is something I haven't really experienced. This world nails what I thought city life crime was going to be as a kid. The color scheme of this world is great with warm oranges and yellows. Really gives off that sunset feeling it's going for. The levels themselves, I can't even begin to stress how good they are. You get an awesome Carmelita chase stage where you have to jump from building to building as she is shooting at you, using beds and clotheslines to escape from her. There's this level where you have to use the railings on the side of a building to progress to the end of the stage. I find this one particularly cool because it's almost like a side scroller rather than a 3D stage, and this is the only level in the game that does that. Another level changes it up a bit too by putting you in an almost open zone sort of setting, almost like a hub world with a key in it. You have to get to the very top of the map to drop a wrecking ball onto the glass to get the key. I love the neon signs, the shops, every little detail here. The best level in my opinion is the casino level. The level is flooded with guards that you have to sneak past, filled with perilous waters that electrocute you, and you can interact with some of the slot machines too. There are added details such as this bar, you jump through betting tables, and at the end of the level you get a key by jumping on the right slots using this table. God, this place is just so good, and I genuinely don't know how else to put it other than that. One of the coolest details about the casino level 2 is that in the background of the song, if you listen real closely, you can actually hear people talking, and that just adds so much more to the vibe of this level. Like, I didn't even notice it when I was playing, and I was just listening to the soundtrack one day, and that's when I noticed it. It's so cool how many details there are here. Not to mention the mugshot fight is actually pretty difficult. Definitely the most difficult boss fight in the game. In fact, the only one I actually died to. Again, I wish there was more I could say about this one, but Other than the minigame stages being there isn't anything I dislike, and I just enjoy all the levels here more than I enjoy the levels in any of the other worlds, so naturally, I just think it's the best one. If you watched the end, like, subscribe. I just recently reached 1K, and I'm hoping that I could get to 5K this year. That'd be super awesome, and go comment. Let me know what's your favorite place in Sly Cooper is. Let me know what your favorite Sly Cooper boss or level or whatever is. You know, I'd love to hear your guys' opinions, and I hope you guys have a great day. See ya.